God's command, keeping God's command. Midweek meditation,
Today's topic, a man well traveled. We're going to talk about what that really means, what I've meditated on, what I've seen, what I've understood by that verse, and how it has actually been implemented within my life. A man well traveled. Tune in today, 5:30 Central, right now actually, on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube Live, whatever your favorite is.
and get complete understanding, complete understanding. On keeping God's command, keeping God's command.
Shalom, 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 everybody. Hey, I pray everybody doing all right. So, we're about to go live. Oh, no, we are live. Excuse me. I see we got a couple people in the building already. All praises for those who have been diligent supporters and followers of Midweek Meditations. All praises to the Most High that we're able to build together and continue to keep these commandments, to continue to perfect ourselves in Christ. You know, because everybody want to say, can't nobody be perfect. But guess what? If we work together and we begin to be our brother's keeper and we begin to actually apply what we're reading, perfection is on its way. So we got Judah Maccabeus in the building. Yakin, Tiana Ward, Joel, Zuli, Anati, Katura. You know, we got a couple people online right now. All praises. So what y'all can do right now is hit that share button. Go ahead and share this with all of your friends and your family, your loved ones, those who you may not really even know that well, but you just clicked follow and add a friend on your different social media platforms. That's cool. That's cool. Share that gospel with them because maybe they'll stumble upon something that will be beneficial to their life. So you may know that I just came back from a little bit of a vacation, if you will, a little bit of time away from the home front and spend a little time on the road tripping out to see family on both sides, my family and my in-laws' family, my wife's family, and all praises to the Most High, we made it back safely. Now, I had to tell my wife, you know, just because we're not at the house don't mean it's really a vacation. And I meant that in the sense of, you know, my idea of a vacation is the relaxation and not having to do certain things. And this was not that type of trip. This was a trip to expend some energy and to come back tired. And you need a vacation from your vacation. I see it's a card from the DFW in the building. All praise. So I want to ask you something. My wife didn't join. Have y'all been keeping up with the Midweek Meditations website? Have you been able to stay up to date with the daily verses? And I know because I was gone a little bit, things came out a little staggered. But that's okay. I made sure that I got back to it. And I provided you with the information. I pray that you guys were able to use that. Were you able to keep up with the daily verses? Were you able to keep up with Bible Trivia Tuesday, Motivation Monday? Have you been following up on the videos from every Wednesday that maybe you missed, you know, because life happens and you're busy. And right now, all we're doing is making sure that you have a platform to make sure that you can always catch up and you never feel left behind. So if I could just get a little feedback to see how people been doing on that, that'd be great. This week's quiz, I see some people did pretty well. This Bible trivia, some 4 out of 5, some 5 out of 5s. I challenge you to go get your 5 out of 5. And if you don't get them all right, at least you have them in your notes so that you can review those and continue to meditate. The thing about meditation, the thing about midweek meditation is the goal is not to hit you with a fire hose, a water hose full of scriptures, but to give you just enough to give you something to think about throughout the week so you can meditate on those scriptures. Because it makes absolutely no sense to hear them being brought out to you once and to never revisit them again and make application of them in your own life. So have you been meditating on these scriptures? We got Solomon in the building, Ariel in the building. All praises to the Most High. Solomon, shalom, shalom. Everybody, tell everybody shalom. Make yourselves one big family of repenting Israelites. You get what I'm saying? Oh man, somebody got the sad face going off. People got the thumbs up, the happy face, the sad. I don't know what's going on. What it looks like we got a lot of emotions going on right now. Well, hopefully we can fix some of those things. We can examine some of those things. We can get ourselves together. So we are about to get started today. But before we get started, I'm just going to challenge you once again. If you really want the kingdom to come a little bit quicker, it's going to be based off of your works. It's going to be based off of how much you really want. The kingdom is within you. So if you have the ability to help this gospel get across the four corners of this earth, by spreading this gospel, sharing on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Periscope, your Pinterest, etc., your YouTube, share. Because the more people that this reaches, the sooner the prophecy will be fulfilled that everyone will have a chance to hear the gospel. So we're going to start in Sirach chapter 34 and verse 9. For those of you who don't know, today's topic is a man well traveled, and that is being inspired by the fact that I just came off of a little vacation, did some traveling, road tripping, and well traveled can mean many different things. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh well, I've been to Japan and you haven't, so I'm well traveled and you're not. That's not what it means. Oh, Abram in the building. All praises, all praises. I see y'all sharing them. I see you share. Abram, I see you, brother. All praises to the Most High. Let's go ahead and get started with the verse. Sirach chapter 34, verse 9. It says, a man that have traveled knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience will declare wisdom. So in this verse, the book of Sirach is a heavy book. Sirach is one of my favorite books. Favorite books of the Bible is one of the books of wisdom. If you know anything about Sirach, it's in the Apocrypha. It's in one of those hidden books of the Bible that was removed. And now, your average Christian does not know that it exists. But being that we're a little more advanced in our Bible studies now, that we're doing more than just opening to John 3:16, we're doing more than just opening to Psalms 23, but now we're reading and getting historic understanding. Now we're reading and getting contextual understanding as well as spiritual understanding. We're going line upon line, precept upon precept. We understand that there are missing components of the Bible. So when we get to Sirach, this book here is a book of wisdom, similar to the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, etc. So Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, it says, a man that have traveled knoweth many things. So it's letting us know that if you travel, there's a lot that you can learn from your travel. There's a lot that you can learn from your travel, meaning you would not have learned them had you stayed exactly where you are. It says, a man that have traveled knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience will declare wisdom. So with that, it's giving you the comparison that travel and experience go hand in hand. When you travel, you gain new experiences. Now, I know a lot of you may know someone, or you may be this person who has never left your city before. You were born, you were raised, you've lived your whole life in the same city. And as smart as you may be, you may have gained plenty of knowledge from TV, from books, from other people. But as great as your knowledge is, I guarantee you that it is stunted because you only have a small bubble in which to pull experiences from. It says, "A man that hath traveled knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience will declare wisdom." So I want to define the word travel. The word travel, we're going to go to Merriam Webster Dictionary. The word travel means what? It means, in the entrance and transitive verb, to go on or as if on a trip or journey. Excuse me, trip or tour, also known as a journey. It says to go as if by traveling past, associate. It says, when you talk about associate, it says, give me a second, let me pull this up in a bigger window. Having a little bit of small window blues here. Okay, the first definition is to go on or as if on a trip or tour, journey. To go as if by traveling. The example it gave is the news traveled fast. Associate. It says travels with a sophisticated crowd. So you associate yourself when you travel. You move and journey or pass through when you travel. Number C, or letter C, says to go from place to place as a sales representative or business agent. Okay. Definition number 2 says to move or undergo transmission from one place to another. The example is goods traveling by plane. Number 2 of letter A says to withstand relocation successfully. A dish that travels well. Letter B, to move in a given direction or path or through a given distance. C, to move rapidly. The third definition in the intransitive verb is to take more steps while holding the basketball than the rules allow. So you see that you have different definitions of travel. But we have to make sure that we understand the context of what we're talking about and understand what travel means here. So the transitive verb is to journey through or over, to follow a course or path as if by traveling. Number 2, to traverse a specified distance. 3, to cover an area as a commercial traveler. So those are the verb definitions of travel. And when we read the Bible verse, it says, "A man well-traveled knoweth many things." So let's see if this is a verb here. A man that have traveled, meaning done the action of traveling. That is a verb. And a man that well traveled, meaning a person who's gone from one place to another, a person who has gone on a trip or journey, a person who has undergone transmission from one place to another, has moved in a given direction or path through a given distance, who has moved rapidly, knoweth many things. Now, the word travel can also mean noun, be a noun as well. But we're understanding this to be a verb as in an action word here in the Bible. So it says, a man well-traveled, a person who has actually moved around, got around. And in that getting around, you've been able to associate yourself with different people, as you saw in one definition as associate. You've been able to pass up different things that you've never passed up before, you've never seen before. For example, I give you, when I made the comment about some people have never left their hometown, the city that they were born in, there's things that they have never been able to pass by and see. For example, not that I really care about this subject, but national monuments, right? You'll never see the national monuments of the United States and really understand just how big a building is, or how amazing the architecture is, because it doesn't look like something else that you're used to seeing, you're comfortable with seeing. It says A man that have traveled knoweth many things. You begin to know things about this area in which you passed that you would have never known before. Yes, you could read it in a book. Yes, you can see it on TV. But it's something about the experience of when you're actually there that gives you a different level of knowledge than just reading the book itself, than just looking at the picture, than just watching the video. You're in a place where now you can draw from other sources of information. For example, you can draw information from the people who live there and who actually utilize the things or see the things that you're referring to every day. Unlike the photographer, unlike the videographer, they were there for just a moment. But the people that live there, they've been their lifetime. They've been there generation after generation, and they may have different knowledge to give that is kind of tribal knowledge, that is kind of spoken wisdom that may not be in a book, that may not be captured in the documentary. It says, and he that have much experience will declare wisdom. So the more you travel, the more experience you get. You will have much experience, and you will be able to declare your wisdom better than someone that is not. You know, one thing that's common in our society, our culture, and our people is we are quick to repeat what we've heard someone else say. And we speak on a subject as if we're knowledgeable, but we've never experienced it ourselves. We just heard it. And what makes it worse is we have less credible sources that are popularly becoming the source that we go to. You know, in the age of Wikipedia, in the age of YouTube, if anyone can put out certain information. However, is it verified? Is it factual? Or is it just someone speaking and giving out any information that they want to give and declaring it to be truth? So a lot of times we'll see a post on Facebook or any other social media, and we'll run with it as if it is true. But yet we've never traveled to that area to see that for ourselves and to be confident and to verify what we have just spoken about. So another word that was used in the definition was the word journey. Let's figure out what the word journey means a little bit. We got plenty of synonyms, but journey is a great one. Journey. Definition of journey is something suggesting travel or passage from one place to another. The act or instance of traveling from one place to another. So, let me find it. The intransitive verb is to go on a journey or travel. Transitive verb, to travel over or through. So, when you look at these words in synonymous form, you got to be able to put them in your own lifestyle. You have to be able to incorporate them into your own vocabulary and your own understanding. To be a person who is well traveled or to go on a journey, you have to go somewhere. But when you go somewhere, you're going to gain much experience, which is going to give you the ability to declare wisdom. So now the definition that I want to pull is experience. It says in the definition of experience, direct observation of or participation in the events as a basis of knowledge. So when you have experience, you have directly observed something or you have directly participated in something, which is the reason why you're qualified to speak on the knowledge that you say that you possess. You know, a lot of people will speak on their knowledge that they have, but they are not qualified to speak on it because they have not directly observed it themselves or been a participant within it. So they're only speaking off of what they heard, that he say, she say. Letter B says, the fact or state of having been affected by or gained knowledge through the direct observation or participation. So not only are you observing, not only are you participating, but there is an effect that this experience has had on you. It has made you tired. It has made you hungry. It has cost you money. It has cost you stress, caused you to be stressed. Some type of effect. It has made you grow in the spirit, in knowledge, in wisdom. It has affected you, whether it be positive or negative. It says, number 2 says, a practical skill, a practical knowledge, skill, or practice derived from direct observation of a participation in the events or in a particular activity, the length of such participation. So your experience is also changed by the length of time that you are participating within it. The longer you participate within it, the more experience you would have in it. You could have a 1 minute experience or 1 hour or 1 day experience, and the day experience should give you more knowledge because you have had more time to observe and more time to participate within that event. Number 3 says something personally encountered. And remember, we're still in Merriam-Webster's dictionary at the moment. It says something personally encountered, undergone, or lived through. So when you experience something, you personally encountered it. A lot of people want to say that they have experience, but they're drawing off of someone else's experience. But in this definition, you have to have your own experience. So, you ever heard the word vicarious? I'm living vicariously through you, as an example. That's when someone tries to pull from a value from someone else's experience. But that's not the real deal experience. That's not the experience that we need to have to declare ourselves as knowledgeable. It's cool. You might have gained something, insight, but actual knowledge and wisdom that you can bring forth and feel confident in, you would be a little bit. You should be a little bit ashamed and embarrassed to use someone else's experience, because if they're wrong, you're indirectly wrong. Okay. Number 4 of the definition says the conscious events that make up an individual's lives. So the events that you have consciously partaken in make up experiences in your life. The events that make up conscious past of a community or nation of humankind generally. So when you travel, you go and you experience things that other people have been experiencing throughout their community, their nation, throughout their generation. The act of or process of directly perceiving events. See, your perception is skewed by your actual ability to have experience within it. So that's the definition of experience when it comes to a noun. And that was a noun that the Bible gave because it says, and he that have much experience, that's the thing that someone possesses, that's a noun, will declare wisdom. So I went to those things just to give some understanding. When it says a man well traveled, you're going to be talking about some actual physical movement, which you're going to be able to gain experience, meaning first-hand experience. Now you've learned something that you were directly affected by, and that will then declare the wisdom that you have. It says, verse 10, he that have no experience knoweth little. So it's directly related. The more experience you have, the more you know. The more you've traveled, the more experiences that you've had. But he that have traveled is full of prudence. Now I have to get the dictionary definition of prudence. Now, no, I haven't been pulling definitions as much lately, but I got to go back to it. And I know that you wish that you had the nice screen image of the dictionary in front of you, but we're at Merriam Dictionary, Merriam-Webster.com, looking up the word prudence, and it says the ability to govern and discipline oneself by use of reason, sagacity or shrewdness in the management of affairs, skill and judgment in the use of resource, caution or circumstance as to danger or risk. So the definition says a lot. And when we look at what we're saying here, it says a man well traveled. It says he that have no experience knoweth little, but he that have traveled is full of prudence. A person who travels is given the ability to govern and discipline oneself by use of reason. You are able to discipline yourself better if you have traveled and gained more experience. You're able to reason better if you have traveled and gained more experience. Your skill and judgment, and good judgment, if you will, it increases when you have traveled. Your ability to be cautious and circumspect in regards to danger or risk increases when you have traveled. So we're going to talk about how that occurred. How is that true? Well, on my trip, I believe that these things apply to me. And it doesn't matter where you're actually going, but the fact that you're going somewhere, taking you outside of your comfort zone, these things begin to apply. Because when you're at home, you're so comfortable with your surroundings. You're so comfortable with your environment. When you're at home, you can dang near walk around blindfolded in your house because you know where everything is. You don't have to take a lot of risks. You don't have to make a lot of life-changing decisions because your life is calm and settled and there's nothing really there to disrupt it. But when you go on a road trip and you're in a car for hours, or you're going to have to get on an airplane, or you're on a bus or a train or a boat, there's so many factors that now have introduced themselves that were never there when you were at home. Factors such as flat tires, a rock being thrown by another car in front of you hitting your windshield. Is the airplane been well maintained? Has the airplane been well maintained? Was the mechanic slacking off? Was the pilot under-rested? Maybe under the influence of other substances? Is there a crying baby on the plane? Is there a baby that is not potty trained in the car? These different things begin to affect you different ways. And as they affect you, you begin to see something that you never saw before, which will then give you an experience to equip you for things that you would have never been able to draw upon had you not made that move. It says in Wisdom of Solomon 8:8, that's the next scripture that we're going to. I hope that someone is able to, scribe. Let's check it out, see if anyone's scribing. If someone could scribe for you, for the people, just to make sure that we're not missing out on the scriptures, in case someone comes in late, in case I'm not speaking as clearly, or I'm speaking too fast, or whatever. If someone could do that on each of those platforms, that would be wonderful. Now, we got Shay Jones in the building. All praises. We got Josh VA Israel in the building. All praises. I want to welcome y'all to Midweek Meditations every week, 5:30 Central. We're in the building as best we can. Sometimes we get a little disrupted. The travel changes things sometimes, but we do our best to be here weekly so that we can meditate together, share this gospel together, and be able to draw upon different experiences together. But while we take this quick break, I want everybody to hit the share button. I want everybody to share with at least 10 of your social media friends. Put it on your wall, on your timeline. Just give an opportunity for people to get this message, and maybe they can learn something about being well-traveled. Now, just to give you a little bit more information, I've traveled to many different places. I've been to many different countries. I've been to multiple continents. So that goes without saying that I've been to different cities and states. I've been to over half, let's say, maybe 60% of the states in the United States. I've been to the East Coast, the West Coast, the Midwest. I've been to North America, Canada included, Mexico. I've been to the Caribbean islands. I've been to Europe. I've been to Africa. I've been to various places throughout the world. And as I look at these scriptures, I begin to meditate and see how these things have benefited me. And as we begin to share this gospel, that gives us opportunity to travel. As we begin to want to fellowship and build with other like-minded people, that gives us opportunity to travel. Um, all these different experiences, though, lend back to your wisdom, your understanding, which then give you a better ability to help spread the gospel. So it's all working together. All right. So if everybody can make sure they share the post, share the broadcast, we'll get back to the scriptures. All right. It says, Wisdom of Solomon 8:8. If a man desire much wisdom, she knoweth things of old, and conjecture aright what is to come. If she knoweth the subtleties of speeches, and can expound dark sentences, she foreseeth signs and wonders, and the events of seasons and times. So if you desire much wisdom, we found out that you get much wisdom and much experience, if you desire much experience, you get a lot of experience through travel. Now, Wisdom of Solomon is another book of infinite wisdom. Solomon was the wisest man, right? He's letting you know that part of his wisdom came from the fact that he was able to gain his experience through travel. And it says, when you gain your experiences, you're going to know things of old. So when I travel, one of the things that's most important to me is learning the history of where I am traveling to. So as I travel to different parts of the United States, I want to learn the history of the people there. Given that this country has a short history, roughly 400 years of documented history from an American standpoint, we know that the biggest history that we're going to continuously find everywhere we go is history that regards slavery, slave trade, and then the progression to the so-called slaves being freed. Now we know slaves ain't free. They just changed the way slavery is done. But when you go there, you begin to understand how the slave master lived. You will begin to understand how the slave himself lived. The efforts that slaves have made to become free from the oppression, to fight the oppressive system. You begin to learn where these different people came from, because not all slaves came from the same location. So as you begin to see the culture of the cities that you travel to, you begin to see that culture may have come from this location, such as the western shores of Africa, such as Caribbean islands, etc., such as parts of Europe. And that's some of the things of old, but that's not all of the things of old. It's not all about a history lesson of that city, but sometimes it becomes a history lesson for yourself. You begin to learn how the old spirits that you thought you had dealt with, the old man that you were supposed to be mortifying and killing, that old spirits are still there. And sometimes those spirits get aroused, they get awoken, and they come out on your trips, whether it be you or the person that you're with. You may begin to learn that a person true colors show when they're out of their comfort zone, when they're out of their norm, when they're no longer able to suppress it because something is provoking the spirit within. It says, she knoweth things of old, and conjecture aright what is to come. When you are traveling, when you're gaining more experience, you begin to see what is going to come ahead. So going back to using history as an example, the Almanac is a book that talks about old so that you can predict the future, right? When it comes to crops or whatever, you begin to understand how a farmer can know the best time to plant certain crops based on the wisdom that they have gotten from old. And that wisdom is gained through travel as well, because as you go to different climates, then there's a different bit of understanding that will go into how that will affect where you are specifically. But also what is to come is what comes out of your spirit. What happens every time you make a trip? What happens every time you get alone with this person? What happens every time you're not in your comfort zone where you are used to eating this type of food and on this type of schedule? When you are working out at this particular time and what happens when you travel? Do you continue to work out? Do you continue to eat healthy? Do you continue to drink enough water? Or do you begin to learn about yourself every time that you move around? You lose your focus. You lose your discipline. It says, it conjuncture aright what is to come. She knoweth the subtleties of speeches. Because for some people, as soon as they cross the state line, their accent changes. As soon as you cross from Texas to Louisiana, when someone's from Louisiana, all of a sudden they start talking like they used to talk. It says, and can expound dark sentences. Sometimes there are things that may have been mystery to you. It begins to begin to manifest itself, and you begin to get better understanding of it as you begin to move around and start seeing other things that may work together to give you that understanding. When you look at our forefathers and their ability to interpret dreams and their ability to interpret parables, a lot of it was due to the fact that they didn't understand it initially, but as they moved around and began to learn some things from other people in other locations, other societies, and other experiences, it became an epiphany, and they began to understand what those things meant. When you look at Daniel, as wise as he was, there were experiences that catered to his wisdom. It didn't just fall out of the sky. When you look at Solomon, as wise as he was, there were things that catered to that wisdom. The experiences that he had and his ability to be able to go to different places and to import things from different places, to be able to learn from different people. It says, she foreseeth signs and wonders and events and seasons and times. So, when the scripture says that in Sirach chapter 34, verse 10, he that have no experience knoweth little, but he that have travel is full of prudence. This is the prudence that we're going into, is the ability to know things of old, to conjecture aright the things to come, to understand the subtleties of speeches. Because now you understand where they're coming from when they say some of the things that they're saying. Now you understand not only where that person is coming from, but where that tendency might have came from. When I travel and I learn how different people manipulate the English language, and there are different sayings or euphemisms that are understood in one area but not in another, then it begins to make sense what it really means. You know, you try to put it together based on the limited knowledge that you have. Oh, I know what this word means. Yeah, but when these people use it, do you know what that word means? So let's go back to Sirach 34 and 11. Now, I'm going to take a break, look at these comments. We got a brother had to get back to work. I'm sorry you have to get back to captivity, but guess what? You will have these videos ready for you. You can always come back and watch them. May say, don't do us like that. Don't do us like what, man? Let us know what you're talking about. Don't do us like what? Okay. So we're going back to Sirach 34 and verse 11. It says, when I traveled, I saw many things, and I understand more than I can express. When you travel, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff. A whole bunch of stuff. Yes, you're going to see the beautiful scenery, the amazing architecture. Yes, you're going to see different food. You know, you're going to see different media, different people, and the way that they dress and the way that they walk and the way that they talk and they carry themselves. Yes, you're going to see all of that. But you're also going to see different things within yourself. It says, when I traveled, I saw many things. So what are those many things? You know, if you dig deeper, You're going to see so many things that are right in front of your face and have always been in front of your face, but you just didn't have the right perspective. You just didn't have the right light shining upon it. But now that you've gone over to the east a little bit and the sun shines a little brighter, you see something different. Now that you're out in the clear blue water as opposed to the brown murky water, you see something different within yourself. You see something different. And it says, and I understand more than I can express. Now that you begin to understand so much, but it's very hard to express it because there's so much knowledge within you, but only so many words can come out at a time. Yeah, make sure I was doing you like that with the accent change. Sister went full Geechee as we went over into the low country. Couldn't understand nothing she was saying. And, I had to get a translator. It was letters missing in the words. There were new words being created. And I was like, oh, I need help. Hold on. The English teacher in elementary school didn't prepare me for this area right here. But yeah, Couture, how you doing? I pray you're doing well. See, I don't see nobody scribing for me today. Can I get a brother Daniel, brother? Can you put the scriptures on the page for us so that the brothers and sisters can keep up with us just in case they miss something that I said? Shay, can you make sure you put the scriptures up? I know you might be busy. I know sisters don't normally do the scribing, but if you could just get a little help, somebody might be able to help. All right. So now that we made sure that everyone understands that one of the things I learned was a new language because I don't speak that low country Geechee. But I understood quite a bit because I've traveled to many places. So it wasn't really a crazy experience for me, but it was more so another one to add to the books. So let's go back to the scriptures. And let me ask y'all, is the video skipping? Or is it just on my end that it look like the video skipping? On my Facebook, look like it's skipping. All right, so it says in verse 11, when I traveled, I saw many things. Now, when you don't travel, you don't see many things. Many of you, with the lack of travel that you have, you've reached your peak. You've reached your max. There's so many things that you just don't get and you're not going to understand because you haven't taken anything a step further. But for those of you who've decided to get out of you know what? Let me go and fellowship with people in a different city. You know what? Let me go on a vacation and not just to sit at a resort beach all day, but let me get out and deal with the locals. Not just to be a tourist with a whole bunch of other tourists, but we'll get there in a minute. That's cool as well. But also with purpose, because when I study the Bible, I study with purpose. When I go to a place, I like to go with purpose because I know I want to gain an experience. I want to gain something different than what I have at home. Why go somewhere and do the exact same thing that I could have did at home? Why go somewhere and not expand my knowledge? So when I travel, I like to go to museums and I like to eat local food and I like to spend my time around people who are from the area as opposed to just do whatever the tourists do. Now, being around tourists is a good thing as well because you have people coming from different locations, but you're not getting the best benefit of the location that you're in from people who are just as novice to that location as you are. So it says in verse 11, and I understand more than I can express. When you take these trips, when you take these journeys, there's going to be so many things that you learn, but it may be opened up to you over time. There are things that I learn every day from experiences that I've had years ago that I'm still gaining understanding and wisdom from. From when I was in Germany, from when I was in Africa, from when I was in Jamaica. Yesterday, something made more sense to me than it did the day before. For example, a lot of times you don't realize the history of the location that you're in and the people that influence the culture there. And so Germany has a huge influence in Texas. Germany has a huge influence in a lot of states. But when I go to Germany and understand that culture, and then when I come back to Texas, I begin to understand why certain people do certain things. When I go to Savannah, I understand why they did certain things because they were doing some of the similar things in Africa. And I began to say, oh, that's an African influence. And when I say African, I'm talking about the continent, not the people, because our people live in Africa as well. May, you was not talking straight. Straight is not a word. So, where are we now? We are still in Sirach. Verse 12 says, I was oftentimes in danger of death, yet I was delivered because of these things. So, when you travel, sometimes you end up in danger. As I made mention of flat tires, you may break some laws that you didn't realize were laws where you were. For example, I remember one time in Memphis, I got guns drawn on me for missing a stop sign, but I didn't see the stop sign because in that area of town, there's so many cars parked on the street, the stop sign is so far back that I missed it. And I was in danger at that moment with guns drawn on me by multiple police officers. They thought I was going to run, they said. Because the next thing that I didn't mention is, well, where I live, when the cop is trying to pull you over, you pull over to a safe area off of the main traffic. But they was expecting me to stop in the middle of the road. When they flash the light, you just stop. Don't worry about nothing else. So I gained that experience and understanding that everybody don't do it the way we do it in Texas. Everybody don't park the same way that we park in Texas. They don't drive the same way that we drive. And the police don't patrol the same way that they patrol here in Texas. I learned that. Now, it says oftentimes in danger. When I was in Jamaica, I learned something new as well. The roads are very small. And the roads in America are so big and wide. You have plenty of space and you know your tires are not going to get worn out too bad, and your rim is not in danger of getting jacked up by rocks and boulders on the ground. But in Jamaica, your passage is so narrow as you go up a mountain where you could easily slide off and fall. And I know you guys have seen where you'll have this car going around the mountain and the tires are dang near hanging off the side of the mountain. It's so narrow. Well, I learned that that's easy driving for them out there. The pacification that we have in America with working stoplights and street signs and, you know, potholes getting filled by taxpayer dollars very often. They don't have that over there. You better learn how to maneuver on the bumpiest of roads. You better learn how to be your own traffic cop and learn when to weave into traffic. They get in probably less accidents than we get in, and we got all the traffic signals. So you be in danger because you're on the side of a road in the dark, in the forest dang near, with a flat tire. And you got people that you don't know around you, speaking a language that you can hardly understand. And you got to figure out how to make it through that scenario. And this is where you learn something else. You learn how much having faith in the Lord and how powerful having faith in the Lord is. Because despite the fact that you might have been a little bit fearful of your situation, you're in the dark in a strange country with animals you've never seen, with people that you don't know if they're friendly or not, that could take advantage of you of your money. You may never be seen again. But yet the Lord put you in a position to show you, don't be afraid. I'm here with you. Have the righteous ever been forsaken? I'm with you. So it said, and oftentimes in danger of death. Yet I was delivered because of these things. You were delivered. Why? Because of your experiences that you had. Because you were able to draw on those smaller experiences that were able to build your faith a little bit more, that were able to give you the courage and the strength, as the scriptures tell you to be courageous and to fear not, you've practiced that on a smaller scale. And now on the big scale, when it's time to do it, you've already been preparing yourself for that moment. Now, let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 14. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 14, verse 3, because I missed out on a spot in reference to verse 11. 2nd Ezra chapter 14, verse 3 says, Then said he unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses, and talk with him, talk with him when my people served in Egypt. Now think about Moses. Moses was in the comfort zone. He was the prince of Egypt. He was in the castle. He was in the royal seat, if you will. But and he was wise. He was a smart man. But in order for him to gain certain understanding, he had to travel. He had to get out of the palace. He had to get out of the king's seat. And he had to go and learn from the Most High God where he was revealed in the bush. It says in verse 4, And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up to the mount where I held him by a long season. He had to travel to the mountain to learn something. You know, a lot of times you're going to learn something, even when you're reading a book or watching a video, more when you get out of your comfort, out of your normal zone. For example, how many of you brothers and sisters have went to the beach and read a book? There's a certain level of peace and serenity that you may have had that opened up your mind to be more receptive to the reading that you had, that you would have not been so receptive of had you been trying to read that in your house. So it says, And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up to the mount where I held him by me a long season. So remember when we talked about travel or journey and things like that, it talked about the length of time catering to the experience. The time that he was away, the time that he was on that mount, catered to the greatness of the experience, the greatness of the knowledge, the greatness of the wisdom, and the ability to show forth prudence that Moses was able to have. And it said in verse 5, And told him many wondrous things. By him traveling to that mount, by him journeying to that mount, he was able to learn many wondrous things. And we as individuals, we are not Moses, but we're going to learn many wondrous things as we begin to move into other locations, as we begin to go and sit forth and learn from other entities, whether, people even. And showed him the secrets of the times and the end and the command, and commanded him, saying, These words shall thou declare, and these words shall thou hide. So when we go back to verse 11 of Sirach, it said that I understand more than I can express. Moses understood more than he could express. Moses, there were things that he could easily declare, and there were certain things that he had to hide. Not only by permission and by being granted, but just by having to wait till he fully understood what he was saying. It began to make sense to him, and he could expound better. Because when we journey through the scriptures, when we travel through the Bible, and we go from the Old Testament to the New Testament, we begin to learn that Moses' writings began to be expounded upon through Christ by process of time and by process of location. All of the prophets, all of their knowledge that they gave us and the prophecies that they gave began to make more sense over time and over generations of people being in different locations, being able to see what was actually written. It was no longer just words that were being spoken. Now it became life that was being lived. We, as individuals, are going to have to travel in the same manner as our forefathers did, in the same manner as the prophets, as the apostles, as the disciples, as the ministers of God. So, in verse 12 it said that he was oftentimes in danger. Moses was able to understand different dangers and respond and react to them based on the knowledge and wisdom that he was able to receive by being at the mount. For example, it was dangerous to even leave Egypt, to even go to Pharaoh and say, let my people go. But because he was given the instruction and was given the confidence and given the knowledge of what was to come, he then began to understand, okay, I can lead my people out of Egypt. After they have led out, I feel confident that now we can begin to overcome the other nations that are around us. As we walk through the wilderness, we'll still be protected. We'll still have our faith that the Most High is going to provide. So verse 12 again, it says, I was oftentimes in danger, yet I was delivered because of these things, because of the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding that you received. So let's get another example of danger. Let's go to the New Testament in 2 Corinthians 11 and 22. Because danger builds your faith. When the Most High shows you that you've been kept alive throughout all the other little situations, you didn't die from that bee sting. You didn't die from not having all the food and water that you wanted. You didn't die from these things. You made it through. So now you know for next time, don't even be worried. Verse 22 says, are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. In labors and more abundant. In stripes above measure. In prisons more frequent. In death often. So Paul is saying, you know that, okay, a lot of people are Hebrews, a lot of people are Israelites and ministers of Christ, but some people are not drawn upon the same amount of experiences that I am. I have more experience because I've been in more labor than many of you. So labor, the different labors that we do increases our experience. That is another form of traveling, because when we put into work for the Lord in the locations that we've been to, whether it be that you're going to a city to help establish that city in ministry and provide them with the resources that they need, you learn something, you gain something out of that. You're in labors more abundant, you're going to gain more wisdom and experience. A lot of people don't do much labor at all. A lot of people don't care. They just want to read the Bible and be satisfied with the knowledge that they have, but they don't want to go and increase and improve that knowledge or to bestow it upon someone else that may be benefiting from that knowledge as well. It said in stripes above measure, because you made some risk, you've done some things that might have gotten you, in some situations that could be painful. It says in prisons more frequent, meaning he didn't been to multiple prisons, traveled to different prisons, and I don't mean visiting. Sometimes he got thrown in jail for the fact that people didn't like what he was doing. A law might have been broken. And though we're not supposed to be breaking the laws of the land, you've noticed preaching the gospel is now an issue. People are getting locked up for preaching the gospel in certain areas. Remember, certain books have been banned. It says in death's offs, of the Jews, 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. Thrice I was beaten with rods. You see, these numbers are showing the experience. Once I was stoned, thrice I suffered shipwreck. Why did he suffer shipwreck? Because he was traveling to other locations. And in that travel, it didn't always go as planned. He had to get out of his comfort zone, not in the comfortable seat that he used to be in, but now saying, in order to get where I need to gain this knowledge, I got to get on the ship. And the ship might have been going through turbulent weather or whatever it may have been that caused that shipwreck. A night and a day have I been in the deep. Don't you think that he was able to draw experiences from all these different, being beaten of rods, being stoned, being shipwrecked, being in the ocean a whole night and day? It says in journeyings often. See, one of the reasons why Paul was so great is because he was in journeyings often. He traveled a lot. He was in perils of water, in perils of robbers. That's an experience that you got to get sometimes. Many of you don't ever want to go through certain things, but you don't realize that by going through it, you learn from it. I'm not going to say that I would just love to be robbed, but if I were to be robbed, God forbid, I better learn something from it to help prevent me from being robbed again, to help prevent my family from being in a situation like that. There's experience that's gained from it. As you be brought through these trials, you learn something. In perils by my own countrymen. So sometimes you learn in your travels that even your own people don't like you. Even your own people are your enemy. In perils by the heathen, in perils by the city, in perils by the wilderness, in perils by the sea, in perils among false brethren. One of the things that your travels will expose to you is the true and the false brethren around you. Some people are only around you for what they can get out of you. And when you put them in an uncomfortable situation, you begin to see that they're really not there for you. They're there for what you can provide. They're there for what they can get out of you. Not because they believe in you, not because they want to support you, not because they love and care for you. It says 27. But before I go on to that, but that's also how you find out who the real people are. Who really is down with you. Despite the perils that they go through with you, they still stick with you. Because a fake person, when the tough get going, they're going to bounce. I know I said that wrong. When the going get tough, they're going to bounce. They're not going to be the tough that are going to get going. So it says, in weariness and painfulness, in watchings often. See, we have to be able to go through a little bit of weariness, go through a little bit of pain. And I guarantee you, driving 17 hours with babies that are in diapers, that's painful. That's weary. I'd rather just fly, but I gain more experience through the drive. I'd rather teleport. So when I get into the kingdom, my spiritual power is going to be wherever I want to be, and I think about it, I'll be there. I won't have to go through the journey. It says, in watchings often, in hunger and in thirst. See, when you're hungry, y'all seen the Snickers commercials. When you're hungry, you might act a little different. You might not be your normal self. And that is an experience to be had and to be gained. That is something that people will begin to understand better about themselves, and people will understand about you. How does this person respond when they're hungry, when they're thirsty, when they're tired? Because that is going to show to the character of when I need them in a moment. Don't nobody want to find out in the wilderness that they're going to act a fool because they're hungry. That they're going to act up because they're thirsty. You know, you get an opportunity to build yourself up when you learn in these smaller scale settings. It says, in fastings often. You know, that's something that we got to do more of, is fast. And when you're traveling and you can't eat and drink like you want, that's somewhat of a fast. That is a practice run on abstaining from what you really want, in cold and in nakedness. Beside those things, excuse me, beside those things that are without, because when you travel, you're without certain things. You're without the comforts of your cushioned bed. You're without the comforts of a stocked pantry. You're without the comforts of your Wi-Fi air conditioning. Now you got to do without. Now you got to entertain yourself and entertain the children with a little bit of more creativity. It says, besides those things that are without, that with which cometh upon me daily, the care of all the churches. See, if you care about the church, you're going to go through some things with the church. You're going to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to travel a little bit to go build up somebody else. You're going to sacrifice something that you want to help someone else. Who is weak? And am I not weak? Who is offended? And I burnt not? If I must needs glory, I will glory of things which concern my infirmities. The God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is blessed for evermore, knoweth that I lie not. The spirit of those that fear the Lord shall live, for their hope is in him that saveth them. So by being saved in certain trials and tribulations, your spirit grows. Your hope grows. Verse 14, whoso feareth the Lord shall not fear nor be afraid, for he is his hope. And when you fear the Most High God, you begin to not fear anything else, because you, in your obedience, such as keeping the Sabbath on while you're traveling, that's a little more difficult because it's harder to prepare. But you begin to not have anything to worry about because God, the Most High God, has protected you on that journey and made a way for you on that journey. Just like our forefathers should have been thinking as we were brought out of Egypt and the Most High supplied us with manna from heaven and quail. Isaiah 43 and 1. So let's see how y'all doing in the comment section. Okay. Miss Tina Israel Judah, I wonder what you're for. Thank you, Danielle, for the comments, the scribing. Appreciate it. I know brothers and sisters are appreciating that as well. All praises to the Father. I pray that y'all getting something out of this. The topic of today's midweek meditation is a man well traveled. And I pray that y'all are sharing this because somebody else might need to hear it. And you yourself, Shalom Eliana, may need to hear it. Because you may need to be the one to get out of your comfort zone. You may need to be the one to get out of your normal location and travel a little bit so that you can learn more about yourself, learn more about your family, and learn more about the culture that your forefathers come from. So it says Isaiah 43:1. But now thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by name, thou art mine. When thou passest through the water, passing through is another form of travel. I will be with thee. So when you came on these slave ships through the water, you were with them. When you traveled from one land to another by the Jordan River, the Most High was with you. When you went through Arsareth to Arsareth, the Most High was with you. It says, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned. When you were thrown in the furnace, like the three holy children, God was with you. Neither shall the flame be kindled upon thee. Verse 3, for I am the Lord thy God, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for thee. See, when you begin to go to different countries, there are people that are going to Ethiopia. There are people who are going to East Africa, and they're going to be able to learn more about the history of our people from a perspective of the people who actually live there. See, we've been so disconnected by the fact that we're in North America from our culture, but what about our brothers and sisters that are still connected to the culture? It says in verse 4, since thou wast precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore I will give men for thee, and people for thy life. When you know the fact that that actually happened, and there's the history there of the people who went through it, who can recall that from a wisdom and knowledge on that side of the earth, not just a book that you read over here by an American that did their own research, but people who actually know people who went through it. Spoken language, the passed down generation to generation. The gaps are able to be filled in from the people who know what they're talking about. It says, since I was precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore I will give men for thee, and people for thy life. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east and gather them from the west. See, we have to be able to understand where that actually happened. It sounds good in Scripture, but when you actually know the truth about it from experience, from you're actually seeing the east, and you see the ancient ruins of the buildings of where these people used to live. And some people are still holding on to the culture and tradition that was happening years and years ago. Your mind gets opened up. And I will say to the north, give up, and the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth, even every one that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, yea, I have made him. When you begin to see, okay, we were really scattered in all these locations. We were really taken from here and brought this far. This explains why we are like this and why we are like that. Joshua 1:5. There shall not be any man be able to stand before thee in the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Excuse me. Excuse me. It says, there shall not be any man able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will fail thee not, nor forsake thee. Be strong and of good courage. For unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance of land. So when these dividing of inheritance of land, it would be great if we understood the land that was divided. Understood the troubles that the people were going through and why they might have had issues with their faith. Because for you who live in America, you have certain pacification, if you will, I used that word earlier, that makes you too comfortable. And if you go to another country, a third world country, you would not be able to survive. So you can only imagine how in Egypt, when we're living in the most technologically advanced city of the time, and then the Most High pulls us out of Egypt and has us walking through the wilderness, how people can feel like, dang, I want to go back to Egypt. You have to gain these experiences to see, dang, they're walking through a desert. They don't have running water like they used to. They don't have free commerce to where they can just go to the market and buy whatever food that they want anymore. Now they have to hunt. Now they have to wait on the Lord to deliver. Now they have to dig a well. These experiences, as you travel to these locations, you begin to see, okay, now I understand how my people could have had the issues with their faith that they might have had. Because if you put me in this situation, maybe I would too. So now that I understand better, let me build my faith up, because when Christ returns and we do have to go back to the wilderness, I need to be ready. It says, which I swear unto their fathers to be given to them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to thy law. Now you begin to understand the strength that you really need to have, the courageousness that you really need to build to. You thought you were courageous until you heard that lion, and until you saw that snake, until you felt that heat, until you were thirsty, until you were hungry. Now you realize that you really ain't that strong. You're quivering now. Build yourself up. That thou mayest observe to do according to the law, with Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand nor to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. Now you're beginning to understand the true grind and the true hustle that you got to go through to prosper. See, most people think that, get a couple social media followers and that's how you prosper. But how do you prosper in a land that you're supposed to take and possess, where you have to destroy the enemy first, where you have to go and build it up from nothing because there was no civilization there already, or not an advanced one? So when you're being asked to prosper, your faith has to get built up as you go to different cities and see how our people, no matter what city they went to, they built it up. No matter what country they went to, they built it up. Remember, the slaves built America on our backs, from our sweat, from our blood, from our tears. And it says, which Moses my servant commanded thee, turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. Understanding that the prosperity comes not with ease, but through the keeping of the commandments. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night. Midweek Meditations is about meditating in the scriptures day and night, but focusing on things enough time, giving it enough duration that you can gain an experience from it, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein, for then thou shalt make thy ways prosperous. There's a time frame in which you're going to get to prosperity, which is after you've meditated on the scriptures, after you have begun to keep the commandments and utilize them in the hard times that you're going through, in the perils that you're going through, in the journeyings that you're going through. And thou shalt have good success. Verse 9. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. It's a commandment to be strong. It's a commandment to be of good courage. But you got to build that up. And you can't do that in your comfort zone, because you don't know that's just like, lifting weights. Yeah, you can get under the bar with perfect form and lift, so much. But what about when something falls on you and you have to pick it up off of you? Or a family member, you have to pick it up off of them? That's an uncomfortable situation in which now you have to test your strength. So hopefully the little bit of exercise that you got catered to the time frame in which you're going to have to use it, because I guarantee you're probably never going to be in a situation where you need to use your strength as if it was a bench press, as if it was a squat bar. That's good to build those muscles up, but that's why people have different forms of exercise, such as the triathlons and the CrossFit and the different things like that, to put them in more real life scenarios. Be not afraid, neither be dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. The Lord is with you no matter where you're traveling to. Your prosperity can happen no matter where you're traveling to. You can have good success no matter where you're traveling to. But you're going to have to exercise your courageousness, your strength, based off of the things that you've learned in previous time. Now, I was supposed to be done at 6:30, but I have a few more scriptures, so forgive me. I have to keep going. The Lord wants it to happen. 2 Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering toward us, not willing that any should perish, but all should come to repentance. Now, our repentance is a journey in itself. We're going to grow from the person that we are to the person that God wants us to be over time. And that's going to be based on the locations that we move throughout and the experiences that we've gained that brought us to the ability to repent. Because if we stayed exactly where we were, doing the same thing that we did, we'd be the same people that we always were, and we would never change. But the Lord is not slack concerning his promise. He promised that he's going to do the things that he's going to do, but he has to bring you through the journeys that need to be had. You have to go through the tough times. You have to go through the trials. You know, a lot of people feel that when they go through something that it's the end of the world and it's bad and they don't know how they can recover. But did not God tell you that you should glory in tribulation? Did not the Most High give you the commandment to be strong and courageous? During what? Be strong and courageous during a happy time or during a time of heartache, a time of pain, a time of tribulation? The Most High is preparing us for the kingdom. And as we go through our different life's journeys, whether it be a physical journey to another location or a spiritual journey through growth and maturity within ourselves, it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. But the Lord is not slack concerning his promise. Even though we be slacking, we don't do what we're supposed to do. The Most High does and will do what he's supposed to do. Just give him time. Gain experience. So it says, Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 30. The Lord your God, which goeth before you. God has traveled too. God has traveled before you. That's why he knows all that he knows. That's why he has all the experience that he has. Because he has already been there and done that. The Most High sent Christ to travel and journey throughout these things to show you that, okay, I understand. So the Lord your God, which goeth before you, shall fight for you, according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes. You got to remember that God said that he was going to do that. Skip down to verse 21. Behold, the Lord thy God hath set the land before thee. Go and possess it. The Most High already peeped the game. He already peeped out the land for you. Now he's telling you to go and possess it, meaning get out of the comfort zone that you're in. Get out of the seat that you're in now. Go over there and take ownership of it. You're going to have to travel. You're going to have to journey. You have to go through the process to possess it. As the Lord God of thy fathers have said unto thee, fear not, neither be discouraged. So in your attempt to go and possess it, don't be fearful. Don't be discouraged. So for those of you who are trying to build yourselves up, don't be fearful in the fact that you're going to have to go somewhere and be around people that you're not used to being around. You're going to have to go somewhere and put yourself in a bad situation to where you might be embarrassed, to where you might actually make some mistakes, but you should be able to learn from them. Don't be fearful, because the Most High has already made a promise and he's not slack concerning it. So when you go through it, don't look at it as a setback, but look at it as the prudence that you needed to gain. Verse 8, actually, it says, behold, I have set the land before thee, before you. Go and possess it, the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them and their seed after them. The opportunity is there. The Lord wants you to seek that opportunity. Seek the Lord and to work. Allow his promises to work. Allow yourself to learn how he actually plans to go about doing it. You know, imagine had Joshua and Caleb set back and never journeyed to that land to possess it. What would become of the Israelites now? You know, we were held back from possessing the land because of our wickedness, and that's why our generation had to die. But imagine had Joshua not did what the Lord said and went and possessed that land and allowed the people who were fearful to hold it back. They would have never made it into the promised land and then began to establish the kingdom of Israel that we began to have through Saul being the first king. Where will we be? Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16. The Most High is telling us to get out and travel, to learn more, to be able to earn more. It says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, in the feast of weeks, and the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. So the Lord is commanding us that we're supposed to travel to the place which has been chosen 3 times, at least 3 times a year. Well, many of us never take the opportunity to travel when the Lord has commanded people to travel 3 times a year. Now, the place that he chose, in that time was Jerusalem, of course. And even though we don't have the ability to go to Jerusalem now, and we're doing the best we can, we're rehearsing the righteous acts, many of us will not take the opportunity to travel, a couple hundred miles down the road. And what does this teach you when you travel? Remember, it says, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. A lot of you are going through your financial situations, and you feel that you don't have enough money to travel. Well, you got to get over that, because the Lord is actually testing your knowledge, your application through this. If he told you to do it and your excuse is, I don't have no money, then where was your faith at? Why don't you have the money? Is it because you were spending it on things that didn't matter? Is it because you didn't go apply yourself to getting more experience and professionalism so that you could earn more? Is it because you were not willing to ask for the days off or ask for a raise? What is it because of? The Lord is trying to see how resourceful you can be to make sure that you make it there, and not only do you make it, that you don't show up empty-handed. The Lord is saying, you're gonna have the money. Has the righteous ever been forsaken? But a lot of us, we so mindful of the money that we're not able to do what the Lord has asked us to do, which means that we're not able to get the things that we're supposed to get out of it. Because when you travel to Passover, unleavened bread, feast of weeks, tabernacles, you're going to meet people from all over the world. They're going to bring different experiences to you. When you travel to that location, you're going to learn things specific to that location that you went to. When you travel, you're going to find out things about yourself that you really can drive that far, that you really can go without certain resources that you had to sacrifice so that you would be able to have that money, that you really do have the patience to deal with the children in a trip that long, that you really do care enough about the Most High God to sacrifice whatever it is you wanted so that you can actually get what God wanted for you to have. It says, every man shall give as he is able. You are learning your new abilities through travel, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. You are learning that you are able to do things that you never thought you could have done, that you never would have done had the Most High God not put you in a situation to challenge and test your faith. So that's why the feasts were required for travel, for one reason. You got to remember Acts chapter 8, verse 26. And we're almost done. And the angel of the Lord spake unto Philip, saying, Arise and go toward the south unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem unto Gaza, which is desert. So he had to travel down through the desert to Jerusalem. Nobody wants to walk through the desert. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia. A man of Ethiopia is also going to Jerusalem. He's traveled. A eunuch of great authority under Candace, Kandake, however you want to say it, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure and had come to Jerusalem to worship. Why couldn't he worship where he was? Because there was value in traveling to Jerusalem to worship. Because he was commanded to worship in Jerusalem, as we read in Deuteronomy 16. It says, was returning and sitting in his chariot, read Isaiah the prophet. Isaiah is the prophet. Then the Spirit said unto Philip, Go, get up and travel, and join thyself to this chariot. And Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah, and said, Understandest what thou readest? So, and he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. So one reason for travel is you're going to be able to gain more understanding. When you go to a place that you were not normally, you're going to encounter people that you would not normally encounter, which can give you wisdom, which you could not normally gain if you were in your normal comfort zone. This is how you gain the understanding, by getting around, getting out and doing something, gaining new experiences. Isaiah 28:9, last scripture, says, whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Meaning them that get out of their comfort zone. Get away from the basics that they're used to. And now they're getting out into something that's a little more difficult, a little more dangerous. And yes, we know the milk of the Bible is the basis of the Bible. But understand in parable fashion, when you have an animal that is suckling from his mother, they stick right by him, never go anywhere. But as they get older, they start venturing off and getting further away, gaining more experience until they become the adult animal that they're supposed to be. And we're supposed to be adults as well. We have to get away from that comfort zone. That's why the scriptures tell us that we will leave father and mother and cleave to our wives. So it says, for precept shall be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. With stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. Meaning, this brother is from Ethiopia in Acts. Do you think he's speaking the same language as everybody else? But he's having to learn in different languages and different cultures from different people. And he's now learning precept upon precept because he is able to get out. He was reading the Bible, Isaiah, before he came to Jerusalem. But it took Philip, both of them having to travel and come together, for him to gain some more understanding. So I'll leave you guys with that. I'll leave you with that because a man well-traveled knoweth many things. That's a true statement. I can attest to it. I feel confident in believing that because I think I've gained so much more understanding through the different places that I've been. When I was in college, I regretted not studying abroad initially, and I made sure that I did it when I went to grad school. And I travel as much as I can. If I could spend all my money would be more spent on travel than any things that keep me comfortable at home. You know, I got to put one more scripture, 2 Ezra 16:32. It says, and the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel therethrough. Travel will keep the earth from being laid waste. Travel will keep the fields from waxing old. Travel will keep the paths from growing full of thorns because people are constantly disrupting that. We have to disrupt the comfortability that we have in our lives, which allows the sin to stay in our life. And we have to, break free from those yokes, those chains that hold us down, because that's a stronghold in itself, is just being too comfortable where you are and not wanting to take a risk and not getting out there and making some mistakes. Not getting out there and learning, because you learn from your mistakes. I know I said the last scripture, but y'all know how it is, man. Sometimes the Spirit be moving you. So let me see if I got one more. One more. While I'm looking, y'all get your Bible, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. Tell me if you got what you got out of it. Let your friends know if you got something out of it. Let your family know if they got something out of it. I'm going to end right there. So that's Midweek Meditations today. A man well traveled. I've been doing a lot of traveling. I want to do more traveling. I want to get myself more experience and more understanding. And I'm only going to do that by going further and further into places that I've not been, doing things that I've not done, and seeing things that I've not seen, experiencing things that I've not experienced. I encourage each of you to do the same, because you're going to learn something about yourself in these travels. When you get on that road trip, you're going to learn how resourceful you can be, how intelligent you are, how able you are to roll with the punches and to call the audible because something didn't go as planned. You know, when the spirits come on you, because the devil will come on you. on these trips. The devil will be riding in the back seat, poking you in the side while you're trying to drive. You're going to learn from that. But if you never get out the house and you think you can hide from the devil, keep the door closed, okay, you're not going to have enough experience to be one of those prudent men that the Bible speaks about. Now, I'm past my time. I said I was going to end a little early today. I got a meeting today. But Lord's will, I'm forgiven. But make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you share. You know, I'm tired of seeing that a fight gets 100,000 views. A girl twerking gets 500,000 views. The same old story about the nations oppressing us, whether it be a cop pulling us over, getting 500, going viral. But the things that would keep us from having the curses doesn't go viral. The things that would make us think and change our ways doesn't go viral. You can barely get anybody to like, subscribe, comment, share. You know, and for somebody, they need to examine themselves. I myself make sure I examine myself and say, okay, let me make sure I spread the gospel better and make sure I stop spreading foolishness, because we good for that. Y'all, we be abusing social media for all the wrong reasons. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and say shalom. Remember, midweekmeditations.com, where everything is there in one place for you. You can check out all the Monday blogs, Monday motivations, Motivation Monday. You can check out all the Bible Trivia Tuesdays. Stack up on the quizzes. It's only 5 questions at a time, so you can meditate on them throughout the week. But put those in your notes. Highlight the scriptures in your Bible. I'm helping you travel through the scriptures by sharing what I'm journeying through in the scriptures. But then meditate on them every day. Don't be so caught up with trying to memorize so many precepts and be quick to cut somebody, but yet you don't know how to apply them when you actually need them. That's the journey. That's the travel, is when you're going through a trial and you apply it. Okay? Remember, we thank you for those who have been helping, those who have been donating. We have quite a few people that have been donating, and I thank you for that. For those who want to donate, please go to midweekmeditations.com/donations. Every little bit helps, whether it be $1, $5, $10 a week, $20 a month, whatever you give, because what I'm going to use it for is to increase the quality of the broadcast. I'm going to make sure that I increase the quality of the content and the consistency of the content that I'm providing. In addition to that, I'm helping others bring forth their broadcasts as well. Some of these resources are going to be cross-functional. So be mindful. And then there's a lot of people in need right now. I don't know if you guys are realizing this, but I have never seen so many people at the same time financially hurting and needing help and assistance so that they don't get evicted, so their lights don't get cut off, so they don't end up homeless, so that they can feed their children. So we're spreading the wealth around. None of this is going to buy me any new shoes or put in, get a new car, any of that. I promise you that. This money is to help those in need and to help spread the gospel. So midweekmeditations.com/donations for your assistance there. Be mindful, we're on Periscope, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Pinterest, we're on Instagram, and Twitter. So wherever your favorite platform is, make sure you're sharing the broadcast there. Make sure you're retweeting and reposting and etc. And let's get this gospel spread. So with that, I am going to go ahead and say shalom to you. Pray y'all had a great Wednesday. I hope your spirit is built up a little bit. I hope that encourages somebody to go travel and meet up with some brothers and sisters that are like-minded, that can help them grow in the spirit. Make sure that you reach out to them and say it before. Don't just show up as a stranger at the door. Be respectful. But with that, that's it for today. That's it. I hope y'all enjoyed, and we'll see you soon. Shalom.